Hello everyone. So today I'm going to be talking about the Sturgis bike rally and drug crimes in the Sturgis bike rally. So first off, what is a Sturgis bike rally? So I feel like living in South Dakota, we've probably all heard of the Sturgis bike rally, but the Sturgis bike rally is one of the biggest bike rallies in the world, and it's held in Sturgis, South Dakota, so right around the Black Hills, and it's for the first full week of August. It's usually 10 days long, and the event features live music, races, bike shows, scenic rides through the Black Hills, and other forms of entertainment. And there's usually around 500 to 750,000 people who attend this bike rally, which is a lot of people within, I feel like that's a lot of people for just one town, but usually it spreads through not just Sturgis, it kind of goes through more of the towns around Sturgis and throughout the Black Hills. So with all of those people in Sturgis, there can be a lot of bad things that happen, like drugs. So drugs within the rally, the main drugs that are like distributed throughout the Sturgis bike rally are methamphetamine, fentanyl, opioids, K2, which is a synthetic cannabis, and paraphernalia. Um, there are usually 2025 had 104 felony and 266 misdemeanors of drug-related arrests. The main arrests that are made the week of the Sturgis rally are DUIs and controlled substance arrests, but there are many arrests made for possession and trafficking of drugs. Um, in 2025, there were on average 7 to 12 drug arrests a day. So drugs are a very prominent thing within the Sturgis bike rally, and I think a lot of that comes like with kind of the, you know, stigma of a biker. People kind of like lean into the biker lifestyle, which kind of like can be doing drugs and things that people maybe wouldn't normally do. So I feel like that's kind of, you know, there are a lot of drugs, and same with like alcohol. There's a lot of drug and alcohol use within the Sturgis bike rally to make it more fun and to make it more entertaining. So how do drugs get into the bike rally? Um, the main thing, and like, how's it so easy for people to get drugs within the rally? And the main thing is there's just so many people. I mean, there's can only be so many cops there. There is not going to be 500,000 to 720,000 cops within Sturgis along with all the attendees. So there's, with so many people and with such a mass amount of people, a lot of drugs can come in and out and be used and not be caught because there's so many people, and with all the traffic flowing and everything coming and going, that's how people can get drugs in and out of the Sturgis bike rally pretty easily. There's also social media has been becoming a big one where people will kind of put out like encrypted, like with encrypted apps and just social media posts, like putting out the drugs that they're going to be selling there, putting out the things that they're going to be doing, making encrypted messages within their social media posts so that people can know, hey, like we're going to have drugs, this is where to get them, how to get them, whatever, and keeping it, away from cops and not having to like sell it on the streets and stuff like that, which still does happen throughout Sturgis, but a lot of it can be through social media. And that's kind of the main big one. The Drug Enforcement Administration's actually said social media platforms and encrypted apps extended the cartels and reach into every community in the United States. So that's like a big one, is like cartels will use social media to get their drugs out so people know like how and where to get them. So that's kind of how people are getting so many drugs into the Sturgis bike rally, is because of the mass amount of people flowing in and out and social media. So how do biker gangs lead into this as well, is also getting drugs in and out, has a lot to do with biker gangs. So some of the common biker gangs that are in the Sturgis bike rally are the Hells Angels, Pagans, and Bandioids. These gangs are known for using large motorcycle events to traffic and sell their drugs. They use social media to get the drugs out, and this can be a big drug gangs, biker gangs selling drugs can be a big issue, because they can get, they all are working together to get, it's a mass amount of people working together to get their drugs out and get their drugs sold, and they're helping cover each other for not being caught and looking out for each other. So it's a lot harder to stop people who have a lot more people helping them out selling the drugs. They also raise other like safety concerns because they will use other ways of like human trafficking, and they'll human traffic people and then use those people to sell their drugs for them. Like they cause a big threat to like the drug the drugs getting out there. They are a main contributor of drugs throughout the Sturgis Bike Rally. And it's also, again, it's such a big it's such a big rally that it's going to be hard for them to be noticed and caught by every single law enforcement officer or every single person to turn them in, because it's such a big mass amount of people. They can hide very well in these situations. Also, impacts that drugs have within this community. There are many impacts outside of just in Sturgis, but it can cause a lot of under influence driving, and we all know, a motorcycle crash is a lot more dangerous than a vehicle crash. It can be a lot more fatal. There can be a lot more deaths when it comes to accidents in the Sturgis Rally because people are way more unprotected on their bikes. So if people are under the influence from drugs, it can cause a lot of more safety risks when it comes to being on the road. Because when you're going to the bike rally, your main transportation is your bike, and then if you're driving on your bike under the influence through the hills, that can be very unsafe. So it can cause a lot of DUIs and people driving under the influence. 58 DUI. There were 58 DUIs in 2025, 155 DUIs in 2024, and 44 drug arrests. So that is a lot of people driving under the influence that can cause major accidents that can be fatal. There's so many death concerns that can be with it. There in 2024, there were 2 deaths from overdosing. So there are also just health concerns that come with it. Like, drugs just aren't good for you, period. We have learned that in our past chapters. Like, there are a lot of other effects that come with drugs, like addiction and other things like that. Like, when people are taking this amount of drugs to kind of feel the high of the rally type situation, they can put themselves in really dangerous situations, and it can cause major health concerns like overdoses and even deaths. It also can spread drug use throughout South Dakota outside of just Sturgis. So when we get such a mass amount of drugs brought into Sturgis, those can be distributed even outside of just the rally. It's not like all these drugs just go away the second the rally's over. These can be distributed through all the communities around Sturgis and around the Black Hills that maybe wouldn't experience this drug income without Sturgis. So it can cause a lot of drug use spread throughout South Dakota just from 10 days of a rally. It can cause a lot of drug spread, which drugs can cause addiction and health concerns. So it's just really concerning if there's going to be drugs flowing in and out that have such a big spread outside of just the rally. Some statistics that I found on drugs within the Sturgis Bike Rally are 226 drug-related misdemeanors in 2025, 105 drug-related felonies, and 87 DUI arrests, which is actually down from 66 from last year. And felony drug arrests rose slightly to 47. I got these from South Dakota Government News and kafgo.com for my statistics. Some prevention policies that they're working on to stop so much drug income and trafficking throughout the Sturgis Bike Rally is joining task forces so the highway patrol and division criminal investigation can work together. Also conducting patrols on foot, on cars, on motorcycles, becoming part of the rally so that you can kind of get in there and see how people are behaving and acting, so you can stop those, and trafficking stoplights and stuff like that, so you can see, if people are trading within stoplights or stuff like that. Just making sure that you're patrolling everywhere throughout the rally has been a big one. They've been using lots of canines, like the dogs, to smell out drugs throughout the rally. This is a really good one because dogs are the best way to be able to tell if someone has drugs on them or not, because they don't need to see it, they can smell it. So using canines is a really good prevention that they've been using so that they can smell the drugs instead of just having to see them. Also, officers have been monitoring social media. Cops will go in weeks in advance and see if they can see any encrypted apps being used, social media posts being used to spread the drugs, and see if they can catch any of the deals before they happen. Also, there's an Operation Prairie Thunder, a statewide initiative launched in July 2025, which targets drug trafficking and enhances collaboration with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement (ICE). This effort played a role in a record meth bust during the 2025 rally. So basically, this is like saying like using ICE and drug enforcement so that they can see like if illegal immigrants are coming into the Sturgis bike rally to sell drugs. So that's been a big one that's really actually helped. And using that, they actually did use this in this example that I found of a 42-year-old man. The name was not given. He was stopped in Sturgis at a traffic light for speeding, but a canine detected drugs on him. He like smelled drugs on him, so they took him in, and they ended up finding on him, I don't think it was at the actual site, but they found him like later within all of his possessions. He had possession of 207 pounds of methamphetamine, which is worth like $12 million. This officer found 207 pounds of methamphetamine on this man just by stopping him at a stoplight for speeding at the Sturgis rally that he was planning on distributing throughout the rally that week. And this officer actually used the Operation of Prairie Thunder law so that they got ICE involved because he was a legal immigrant bringing 207 pounds of meth in and was going to try and distribute this throughout the Sturgis bike rally. So he was an illegal immigrant, and they used immigration and custom enforcement and worked with the police to find this man and to stop him before he could sell that much methamphetamine, because that is a lot of meth and a lot of people could have gotten very hurt or overdosed, or so many issues could have come out of that. So very good thing that they stopped that before anything bad could happen. So in conclusion, the question that I brought up to kind of ask and to think about is, does the abundance of drugs going through Sturgis the week of the rally make a significant impact on the drug abuse in South Dakota? And how can we stop drugs getting beyond Sturgis and causing harm to other communities? So kind of back to when I said that the drugs don't just go away the second Sturgis is over, and it can spread throughout South Dakota. My question is kind of, what really is the significance? Is there data out there? What is the significance of the drugs going beyond just the Sturgis bike rally, and how can we stop it from spreading to other communities before too much harm is caused to other communities throughout the years of the drug intake? So that is my spiel on the Sturgis bike rally and drug crimes within it.